Hello and welcome to another episode of Retro Game Mondays presented by RetroFungin.com as well as the RetroFungin podcast. Check us out at RetroFungin.com as well as on Twitter at RetroFungin. And today we're going to play a game that I've recently picked up. This was a white whale I didn't think I was going to be able to get. This is the Street Fighter collection, the first one, on the PlayStation 1. This game was never released in Canada, so I was really surprised to find it out in the wild here in Canada for not that much money. So I lucked out. I had to grab it as soon as I saw it because it was one, it was complete, and two, I never thought I'd see this game in Canada. I've only seen this game available through eBay in the United States. So what this is it's a 2-disc collection. The first disc is this one, which is Super Street Fighter 2 and Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Essentially what these are is they are consoleized CPS2 ROMs, and they are created with custom interfaces and whatnot. And to my honest opinion, this is the best home port of Super Street Fighter 2, better than the one for the PlayStation 3, which I think maybe we'll play another time. The HD remix made by Udon. I like this one a little bit better, just because I find a slight difference in the mechanics in the HD remix. But this is the definitive version for me. I like this port the best. I like it even better than even playing the original Capcom System 2 ROM of this game. I actually prefer playing this over the ROM. It just works so much better. And there is nothing else special about this other than the fact that you have 2-player versus select in a CPS2 ROM, and that's about it. And that's pretty much all this is. So from the title screen, we can pick whenever that loads. From the title screen, you can choose which one you want to play. If you want to play a different version of Street Fighter, you will have to reset the console. So you have between 2 and 2 Turbo. And now the second disc of this collection is Street Fighter Alpha 2 Gold, which is just Street Fighter Alpha 2 with additional modes. Previously, that game was only available in Japan by itself. And in North America, it was sold along with this collection. That was the only way to get the game. So getting Street Fighter Alpha 2 Gold as a white whale off my list is a really big deal. And that's actually the one that we're playing right now is the one that I bought. Let's see. We just want to play arcade mode. Now, the only thing is because this is a PS1 game, there is a shit ton of loading, unfortunately. But there's nothing you can do about that. That's just the way it is. We're going to choose M. Bison here. This is my personal favorite and go-to in the Street Fighter 2 series. It's all M. Bison for me. Same with Capcom versus SNK 2. I believe I've made a video on that previously. I'm not sure if I played as Bison in that or as one of the Shoto players. I actually find myself nowadays no longer playing with Shoto characters at all. I got so bored of them. And this game is all about distance. And re-dizzying your opponent or throwing them. Bison is 100% timing in this game. Everything that I do with him has to be done at the exact millisecond or it will not connect. I remember when I was playing this at the Hive, although there I was playing the Super Nintendo Hyper version of this. Which, mind you, is actually probably the best game on that collection. Now, can I double perfect him? Yeah, I can. Mind you, this game is on normal. I've not touched any of the options in this game. Everything is left default, like you should as a good Street Fighter player. You should never play on easy unless you're just testing the game out. Victor would have something to say about that. And like I said, this is just a consoleized version of the arcade game. We're just removing the quarters and giving an interface similar to that of a home console game, and it's really, really cool. And if you're a Street Fighter 2 guy like me, the collection Volume 1 and Volume 2 are definitely a must get in your Street Fighter collection. They are the best ports of these games. Now, the second volume is far more expensive. I don't think I'm ever gonna get that one. I think it's going for. I think in Canada I'd be paying like a something crazy like $90 for it or something like that. And I'm not spending $90 on a fucking retro game. I think I have a very firm price limit of $50 with my games. Anything more than that would have to be really special, like a Rushing Beat game where I spent $75 for that. It would have to be something special. But I'm glad I spent that $75 for that game because that game is now worth $160. I do not regret buying it. Off eBay, I think it was like 11 or 12 years ago. Jeez. Even when Ken has already executed the full width of his uppercut, he can still hit you like as if you ate the first hit of that. And of course, he has to constantly do the Shoryuken thing, and then you just throw him, kill him. I really really like this game. Just despite the loading time, and I know people can tell me, you just play the ROM, there won't be any fucking loading time. Yeah, but it's really hard to play the ROM against your friends when you can't change your character after every fucking round. It just doesn't work. And while the PlayStation 3 HD remix version is really cool, and I really really like it, and it is built from the ground up to be a widescreen game, I noticed that the timing is a little bit off with some things. And while I still enjoy playing it, I don't play it as well as I do this version of the game. But it definitely looks prettier in every way possible. But there's just something about these original graphics that, hey, they remind me of my childhood. This is what this was cutting edge in 1993, guys. If you had this, it was the shit. No, sorry, I think it was the mid-90s that this came out, I believe. Like 1996 or something like that. They can work out a Dalsum here. What else about this game? I remember back in the day, if you wanted to play the original Street Fighter games, you were pretty much screwed to play the Super Nintendo version, the World Warrior. Or you either like Ralph had parents who had a convenience store and play the games there, if you were lucky enough, or as we like to say, privileged enough to have that. But anyways, it was pretty. I mean, the only version that came out of this was the Super Nintendo version, and while the Super Nintendo version was good, I had the Genesis one as well. They still were not arcade perfect. I always found that on the home console versions of these games, all the characters looked smaller, and I understand why, because you're trying to save, you're trying to save memory here. So obviously you downscale the artwork and make the characters look a little bit smaller. But when it's just in Super Street Fighter 2, I noticed that difference a little too much, and it kind of bothered me in that home console port. It's why I didn't play it, despite the fact that I owned it. I did not play that version as much as my was a Street Fighter 2 Hyper Fighting, which had all the versions of the game in it that I wanted. And the timing wasn't off there either. One thing about Champion Edition and Hyper Fighting on the Super Nintendo is that the timing in those games was fucking great, and I have the timing down for those games pretty well. And the graphics of them still look very much close to the arcades. Again, it's still downscaled, but they still look beefy enough for them to pass. Whereas in Super Street Fighter 2 for the Super Nintendo, I found that they were just too downscaled. Same in the Genesis version. I thought they were just way too downscaled. Didn't dig it at all. Oh man, T-Hawk can be a problem. Because he has that rising attack, and especially with Bison moves, that does not bode well for me. So, let's see here. Whoop. Shit. So, like I said, T-Hawk, you have to get in close with him. If you stand far away from him, he will kill you. You have to get him up close. I always found. Not even sure if you guys can hear the game audio here. Sorry, I'm still playing with the software here after a couple of episodes. I'm recording all of these in one shot, guys. Sorry. It's just that I don't get a lot of quiet recording time at all times without there being some significant background noise that I don't feel like editing out. Well, he kicked my ass. Well, if he beats me out of this round, we'll end the video there, because I want to try to keep these videos under 15 minutes, because I don't really think anybody's got time to listen to me blab and play these games for that long, especially this old stuff. People say, like, everybody's into the streaming now. I don't have time for that. I don't have time to, you know, play a game online and watch what people do or don't say during it. And he's dead. Well, that does it for this episode. Give us a like, hit a subscribe, as well as tell us in the comments which other games you want us to play or discuss on the podcast. Again, check us out at Retro Fungin, where you can download the podcast. Also, you can search Retro Fungin on, that's Fungeon, like dungeon, but with an F. And download the show on Google Play and iTunes. Just search Retro Fungin, and we'll see you next week. Goodbye.